Hi everyone, this is Mindy Eggen and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be creating a mini slimline rainbow Christmas card. I love the smaller size of the mini slimline and I think using rainbow to create a Christmas card is just very fun and festive. I'm starting with the rainbow slimline stencil from Simon Says Stamp. This is great for slimline cards, of course, but I'm also going to show you how I use it for mini slimlines. Now, there are very fine lines on this rainbow, so I spritzed the back of it with some PIXIE spray, which is just a low-tack adhesive. After I gave it about a minute or about 30 seconds to dry, and I also tapped my hand over the back of it too to kind of help just reduce some of the stickiness, then I'm taking it over to my 80-pound white cardstock that I'm going to be using. Also holding down some of my edges, I am using my Make Art Station, and I'm going to start by applying some red velvet ink from Gina K Designs. I'm also kind of holding everything down with my fingers there because those lines are super skinny and I don't want to risk them shifting on me as I'm ink blending, but I am being fairly careful and light-handed. Now I'm going to move on to Mandarin from Simon Says Stamp, going in rainbow order, although I knew ahead of time I was not going to be making the entire rainbow. I was kind of doing what Laura Basson calls is a Christmas rainbow. Then I'm going to move on to Sunbeam ink, so a really nice bright yellow, working my way into the orange and also in its own section of the rainbow. Then I have Limelicious, and this is pretty light. I decided I wanted to add another green to this, so I brought in Perfection. There's a lot of room in here, so I thought having two different colors of green, being that it's a Christmas card, would work out really well. But I did also bring in Surf, just in case I wanted to make my card a little bit bigger, because at this time I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. After all of my colors are blended, I'm going to just carefully peel up my rainbow and I will rinse this off in my sink. So I have this gorgeous rainbow background right now. Then I'm going to trim this out using the mini slimline rectangles from Simon Says Stamp. I just choose what area I want to die cut out, hold that in place with the low tack tape and die cut that panel. And then for my base, I'm using red velvet cardstock from Gina K Designs. I have stitched snowflakes and the Mary dies that I'm die cutting out with the glitter cardstock from Memory Box. Now here's a trick that I like to do when I'm die cutting glitter cardstock. So I'm flipping my sandwich. I have a little piece of red glitter cardstock using that small Mary die that I'm going to hold down with some low tack tape. Now I have my regular plate on the bottom. I flipped my dies so that it's facing, the cutting side is facing up, and then I place my cutting plate on top. So backwards than what I would normally do, but it die cut out these sentiments beautifully, and I don't have all of those little paper hairs that I tend to get when I'm die cutting out glitter cardstock or just regular cardstock. So I did go ahead and die cut that 2 or 3 more times from white cardstock. And I'm going to attach these together with my Barely Art Precision Glue, just adding little dots of glue and adhering them with my tweezers. Now, what I want to show you here is I'm working on this slick surface. This is those tonic mats that you get typically on like the glass media mats, and I love gluing on that surface because it's easy to wipe away and clean up any excess glue. Now I'm adding my stitched snowflakes that I die cut from the white glitter cardstock, just kind of adding them sporadically to my blended background before I attach this to a card base. I purposely added some that were hanging off the edge of the cardstock because I like that look, and then I'm just going to trim off any of that excess. Off screen, I trimmed out about 2 to 3 more pieces of white cardstock that is cut just a little bit smaller than this blended panel, and I adhered them all together with my Simon Says Stamp dot runner. Now I also trimmed out some cardstock that is just slightly larger than that blended panel to give me a white border, and then I'm going to add all of this to that red card front that I created. I really like having kind of that sliver of a white border to separate out my blended panel from that bright red cardstock. Then I'm going to add that Barely Art glue to the back of my Mary and add that to the bottom of my card. I'm using a sentiment from the Reverse Strips sentiment that I die cut out with the sentiment labels die, and then I'm taking my black Copic marker and going around the edges to give this a nice finished look. I'm going to add a few black foam squares to each end of the sentiment and then add a dab of glue, liquid glue, to the center. And I'm going to place this underneath the Mary so that it's going to kind of overlap the bottom of the Y. So here's a look at my finished card that I did on screen, and this is one that I did where a little bit of blue is showing if you wanted to have more of a rainbow. I hope you enjoyed today's video and it has inspired you to use rainbows in your Christmas cards this year, which I think are just very fun and festive. All of my supplies will be linked down below in the video description and over on my blog. Here are a few other videos I think you may enjoy. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon.